We're happy to be joined by Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Nayyera Haq for a deeper dive on the race in Virginia. Good morning to you, Nayyera. So we got Glenn Youngkin, Terry McAuliffe going at it. Of course, McAuliffe, the Democrat, and if he's going to win election again after he was the governor there in 2018, Northern Virginia has to come out and support him. Why is that so? Tell us about the demographics and the breakdown of why Northern Virginia is important to the Democrat.
Here's what's happening in Virginia, what makes it ground zero for all of these conversations we're having about race and the perfect union we're trying to achieve. So, you know, we all remember that Virginia is the former capital of the presidency. That's Richmond. But Northern Virginia, which is the suburbs right around the D.C. area, Alexandria County, Arlington County, and Fairfax County are the two counties where the demographics have significantly shifted since the Obama administration. So you have large influxes of people who have fled D.C.'s high prices and have settled in those counties. So those are lots of people who are not necessarily native sons and daughters of Virginia. You have in Fairfax County alone something like 140 languages spoken in the public schools. So you have large Hispanic immigrant populations. Many of the day laborers also live in these counties. So you have a mix of college educated and above white people. You have a mix of minorities who are recent immigrants or recent voters. And that tends to be a Democratic stronghold. It's why Northern Virginia has effectively gone blue. But right next to it, you have Loudoun County, which is where a lot of the conversations about critical race theory and school boards are happening. And to give you a description of Loudoun County, that's where people have, they have horses on estates. Right, so you have these two counties right next to each other, and that shows that tension that's existing in the United States right now, not only about how we represent ourselves going forward, but how we talk about our past.
Yeah, you see in Loudoun County, they're talking about critical race theory, and something McAuliffe has pointed out that Glenn Youngkin is trying to throw out there when it comes to CRT is that that is not being taught in Loudoun County when it comes to the school system. So that's one of those talking points that people are talking about, along with mask mandates or the lack of mask mandates and vaccine mandates. All right, so we're talking about this election, and if you look back on the election from the presidential election, you would think that McAuliffe would win in a landslide because Biden won this state by 10 points over Donald Trump last year in the presidential election. Biden's come out supporting him. President Obama's come out supporting him. Stacey Abrams come out there and support him. But if they happen to lose tonight after the Democrats has such a huge lead in the presidential election, what do you think that's going to say about the midterms in 2022?
Well, it tells you that there is still resonance for the issues that Trump raised, if not for the personality he brought to the table. So Glenn Youngkin has really played that balance. Yes, he's had President Trump endorse him and come out to campaign for him, but Glenn Youngkin comes across as a far more reasonable person, even though many of the policies like critical race theory discussions and saying that parents need to be involved more in school are really the same racist dog whistles that we heard from President Trump. So it's the idea of possibly whether or not a softer version of Trump policies could still take hold in the Republican Party. On the Democrat side, what's at stake is the idea that black voters effectively get called in every 2 years to save the Democratic Party, yet they do not get the policies that they were promised once they get these politicians in office. So black voters are being asked to turn out and save McAuliffe's campaign now, but will black voters also get blamed if McAuliffe has lost?
Yeah, and former Governor Wilder called out McAuliffe for not doing enough for black voters and not deserving the black vote, especially when it comes to HBCUs and other matters there as well. All right, so if Youngkin wins, what do you think that means for former President Trump in 2024? And if he wins this way, do you see other candidates, especially in the midterms, to kind of follow the blueprint of Youngkin, where they, like you said, they're a little Trump light? They'll talk his policies and some of the things that are his talking points, but not necessarily fully embrace them.
Right. It's the idea of couching all of the racism in civility, right? Or, for example, education suddenly started polling in the last 2 weeks as the #1 issue in Virginia. But instead of talking about funding public schools or talking about alternative schooling options or expanding education resources like universal pre-K, for example, they decided to talk about education in terms of don't teach your children racist history. Right? So that's the turning those issues in the very Trumpian direction as opposed to the traditional types of conversations when they could have had a legitimate policy disagreement or discussion on what education can mean for our future. So we can expect a lot more of that from the Republican Party, regardless of whether or not Youngkin succeeds. They absolutely do need on their side the Trump base to turn out in order to win.
Yeah, and once again, CRT is not being taught K through 12, and that's something that Youngkin's not talking about, but Terry McAuliffe is definitely talking about when it comes to this election. We'll see if it makes a difference tonight in this gubernatorial election. Nayyera, I know you'll be all over that tonight on your show. Thanks again for joining us for your insight this morning on Start Your Day.